All right, we're joined now by our friend Colleen Sullivan from the Center for Organ Recovery and Education in Pittsburgh. CORE is the local OPO or organ procurement organization for Western PA and West Virginia. So welcome, Colleen.
Hi, Craig. Thanks for having me.
So we've really become great partners with CORE over the last 4 years or so since we started Second Chance Fundraising. It started because for our very first 5K, we donated the funds to CORE and didn't really know them at the time, but knew that they did this critical work. So since then, we've become much more involved with them and have been able to do a lot of community events in Johnstown and Pittsburgh and really all over their service region. And it's been a really great opportunity for us to work together to try to advance this cause. So, you know, Colleen, we always do these community events and we talk about how important it is and what a critical need donation is in America. So maybe you can just talk a little bit about, you know, those numbers, those big talking point numbers that are so important to get our message across.
Sure. Well, first, let me start by thanking you for everything that you've done for donation and for CORE. Year over year, you have received presidential awards for the number of hours that you have given to donation and giving back to those that are waiting for their life-saving transplant and honoring our donors and our donor families. And this year, after this will be aired, or before this is going to be aired, Craig will be receiving his Donate Life America Volunteer of the Year Award. So this short snippet of videos right now that he's doing is just one of the many ways that he has been able to reach out to folks, and very appreciative of everything that you do for us. So thank you, Craig.
Thank you.
Our need is so very great within the donation community because across the United States, there are over 110,000 people waiting for a life-saving transplant. We know every day that number continues to grow because every 10 minutes, another name is added to that waiting list. And unfortunately, because we are unable to meet the need, we have 20 people on average that pass away every day waiting for that life-saving transplant. So CORE is an organ procurement organization. We're one of 58 across the United States, and we play the link between donors and recipients. So we work towards our life-saving mission and with volunteers and advocates like Craig and other recipients, donor families, to try to encourage folks to make that decision to put it on their driver's license.
Yeah, so one of the things that we encounter the most when we're out in the community, I mean, there's a lot of things that go into a decision to be a donor. And we're obviously always encouraging people to make that decision, but people are skeptical and hesitant. So what is the best way, do you think, for people to have that conversation with their friends and their loved ones and to get that message across and to let them understand how important it is that they make that decision to sign up?
Sure, and it's a conversation most folks do not want to have. It's not a conversation that anyone wants to think about. Most folks don't want to consider their mortality or what's going to happen when they pass away. But we do know that data has supported that over 90% of the population supports donation and believes that it's the right thing to do. So if there are 90% of the population that support donation, it's about taking that next step and having that conversation with your family, your friends, and your loved ones, and also putting yourself in someone else's shoes. If you were in need of a life-saving transplant, would you want someone to say yes to donation? And hopefully you can talk with your friends and family about donation prior to being in any unforeseen circumstance or tragic circumstance. It would be a difficult question to answer. So it's very important to talk with your family ahead of time. There are a number of myths and misconceptions, as Craig alluded to, that folks may not put it on their driver's license because they believe they won't get the same type of care or treatment in the hospital setting, which is not true and not accurate. The hospital staff, their number one goal is to save lives and heal lives. And when all life-saving efforts have been exhausted, that's when donation can be considered. Other myths and misconceptions, such as the rich and famous get preferential treatment, or I'm too sick, I'm too old. There are a number of myths. And then when you're able to have these conversations and talk about it with family, friends, or even those that have the background and can provide you with the right information, you can get the right answers and the right information to make that decision on your own.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm a perfect representation of a lot of the average people with donation, because before my transplant, I actually wasn't signed up to be as a donor. And it wasn't because I was against donation. It was just something that I never gave any thought to. So one of the most important things that we can do is just to initiate those conversations. And that's one of the best things that I love about our mascot Pumper, who Colleen you're very familiar with Pumper and getting out in the community, because like you said, these are not conversations people want to have. Nobody likes to think about their own inevitable death someday. But when you approach them in a giant heart costume that's smiling at you, trying to get high five, it kind of loosens up that mood a little bit and gets them a little more talkative. So, but yeah, I do think that perspective from somebody that has gone through it or has seen a loved one go through it is super important. I know just myself in the couple of years since my transplant, I've had friends and family and people that I've met along the way that have told me that just kind of seeing what I went through and knowing my story was kind of what inspired them to sign up, which is great, because that's just knowing that I had a transplant, that's something I don't have to do at all, that inspires somebody to make that decision. So afterwards we want you to sign up to be organ donors. But beyond just signing up to be a donor, how can people really kind of help the cause and maybe get out in the community themselves, or what's the best way to spread that message and get that point across?
Sure. So you bring up a few really great points, because number one, when we talk to folks, most people haven't considered putting it on their driver's license, and it's nothing that has crossed their mind before in the past. So it's about having that conversation, whether it's just with your family, friends, neighbors, etc. And then also the importance of advocacy within your own community. If you have received a transplant, or you're a donor family or a waiting list candidate, it's important to let your community understand that donation and transplantation has affected your community. A lot of times individuals believe that it might just be something that happens in the large cities, in Pittsburgh and Philadelphia and Cleveland. And that's not the case. When you look throughout our service area, and we have families all throughout that are honoring their loved ones as organ and tissue and cornea donors, or those that have been recipients. Yes, the transplants may happen in Pittsburgh or in the cities at transplant centers, but you're also having a number of community members that are affected by donation. And when we're able to share those stories, that's the powerful motivation that encourages people to make that decision and take the step and action to designate on their driver's license. That's another piece that has come out of studies and surveys, and showing that once you have a face to donation and you can understand that, hey, it's someone that looks just like me that's been affected, or someone that looks like my husband or my brother or my family member, then you can take a look and say, wow, this is something that might affect me one day. And so it's probably a conversation that I need to think about, or a conversation that I should have with my family, not something to push off. And unfortunately, it might be a question or a discussion that my family might have to answer for me.
Yeah, no, I agree that having somebody that you can kind of relate to, I think for me, again, I think I kind of hit some of those qualifications because I was a young guy who got diagnosed with a very unexpected thing happened. For anybody who knows my story, I got a virus that affected my heart. It was not, anything that I was dealing with my whole life. So I think it's really important to have those conversations and to try to get that message across. So if anybody's looking for more information, or if you want to sign up to be a donor, you can certainly visit CORE's website, which is just www.core.org. You can also register on their website. You can reach out to anybody if you have questions about donation. And as always, you can also reach out to us at Second Chance. And we're more than happy to have these conversations with you. So thank you so much for joining us, Colleen. Hopefully we get to see you out in the community really soon.
Yes, we hope so. We hope to get back out there and sign more folks up. Thanks, Craig.